Hello everyone, this is Bill Griffin. Welcome to Different Take Podcast. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, share, comment. Really appreciate you watching new episodes Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today I hope the name lives up, that I have a different take on this subject, which is I'd like to talk about the Oberlin College versus Gibson Bakery matter. And you may be aware of this, but there's some things that I learned doing research about this that are pretty interesting. And I'll start with this from Jonathan Turley, an attorney. This is from jonathanturley.org, August 31st, 2022. The long and vengeful campaign of Oberlin College against a small family-owned grocery has come to an end at the cost of a breathtaking $36 million for defamation. The Ohio Supreme Court had rejected what should be Oberlin College's final appeal of a verdict in favor of Gibson's Bakery. The bakery has been the target of an unrelenting attack by the school after it had the temerity to fight a false charge of racism in a shoplifting case involving Oberlin students who later pleaded guilty to criminal charges. Oberlin President Carmen Twilly Ambar and the board burned through millions in litigation costs above the damages rather than admit that the college was wrong in the targeting of this grocery. That money could have been used for scholarships and other worthy purposes. Instead, Ambar and the board will simply ask alumni to foot the bill for a legal effort that seems to become little more than a revenge fetish. The college has since, Oberlin College has since made an announcement that they have paid this off. So this matter is apparently settled in terms of paying the damages, and the legal fight is over. So this all set me to wondering, how could this possibly happen? It's apparent that the administration of the college did not have much concern for their students, zero concern for their alumni, the town that the college is situated in, the people who live in the town, the businesses and so forth. They certainly did not care about the amount of money that they spent. And they've since, in this 6 years period of time, since this incident that set this all off occurred, there's been no apologies. And it seems almost sociopathic. So what are their motivations? Well, I'll go over the motivations at the end, but I want to cover the timeline of what happened. So Oberlin College is a liberal arts college situated in a small town of Oberlin, Ohio. I think it's west of Cleveland, Ohio. The faculty certainly far left-leaning politically. I'm sure many Marxists, certainly, and anti-capitalist sentiment, and believes in Marxist ideology. And from looking at the writings on the student newspaper and on the college's website, they're totally bought in on the woke ideology. So this is an account in the Wall Street Journal of what happened on November 9th, 2016. This occurred the day after Donald Trump was elected, November 8th, or election day was November 8th. So this is an account in the Wall Street Journal by Abraham Socher, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, who was on the faculty of Oberlin College for 18 years. This was published September 1st, 2022. On November 9th, 2016, Alan Gibson, who is white, caught Jonathan Aladdin, who is black, trying to buy a bottle of wine with a fake ID while hiding 2 more bottles under his shirt. Mr. Gibson tried to take a photo of Mr. Aladdin, who grabbed the phone and fled, with Mr. Gibson following. Outside the store, they tussled with Mr. Gibson, getting the worst of it, especially after 2 of Aladdin's friends joined in. Body cam footage from a few minutes later shows Mr. Aladdin asking an Oberlin police officer why he and his friends, who were also black, were being arrested and not Mr. Gibson. Well, the officer responds reasonably, "When we got here, you all were on top of him, wailing on him." This is another account written by Abraham Socher in commentary.org, September 2019. Alan Gibson, who is white, had caught an underage African-American student named Jonathan Aladdin first trying to buy and then trying to steal wine from the store with two college friends, when Gibson tried first to call the police and then to take a picture of Aladdin with two bottles of wine under his shirt. Aladdin slapped the phone out of his hands and ran out of the store. Gibson chased him across the street, tried to stop him, and was beaten up by Aladdin and his friends. "I'm going to kill you," Gibson reported Aladdin saying. Aladdin and his friends, India Lawrence and Cecilia Whetstone, were arrested. The Gibsons pressed charges against the students despite the college's repeated demands that they drop them. I think that's important. The college was pressuring the store, Gibson's, to drop the charges. So news of the arrest, November 9th, the day after Donald Trump was elected, spread through the student body and the faculty, and protests started. And apparently there were 2 days of protest, and there was a flyer that the students produced on purchases of pizza and gloves, and to support the students, as the administration would say, the Oberlin administration would say, to express their free speech and their rights to free speech. So this is the flyer that they posted all over the town. And I'll just read the top part. "Don't buy. This is a racist establishment with a long account of racial profiling and discrimination. Today we urge you to shop elsewhere in light of a particularly heinous event involving the owners of this establishment and local law enforcement. Please stand with us." Okay. At this point, the college administration, the learned, educated adults, could have easily explained to the students that this could be, if it's not true, if this is false, defamation. And the students, if they cared about the students, they could have explained you could be on the hook for legal action even. Now, it would be strange for the Gibsons actually to go after the students for this defamatory libel, because they don't have money. Typically, college students don't have a lot of money. But the question becomes, did the college aid and abet, support what is, if it's not true, is clearly defamatory? I think this is what this case eventually came down to, and this massive verdict is over this flyer, the protest, and the events that happened after that. Definition for defamation is the act of damaging the good reputation of someone, slander or libel. Some of the synonyms are libel, slander, character assassination, defamation of character, malicious gossip. This is clearly, if it's not true, it's defamatory. But the college has never apologized and went through 6 years of litigation over this. This is from Wikipedia. The day after the incident, faculty and hundreds of students gathered in a park across the street from Gibson's Bakery, protesting what they saw as racial profiling and excessive use of force by Gibson toward the shoplifter. The Oberlin Student Senate immediately passed a resolution saying that the bakery has a history of racial profiling and discriminatory treatment of students and residents alike, calling for all students to immediately cease all support, financial and otherwise, of Gibson's, and called upon Oberlin College President Marvin Krisloff to publicly condemn the bakery. The Student Senate resolution accused Gibson's Bakery of racial profiling and discrimination, was emailed to all Oberlin students and was publicly mounted in a display case at the school's Student Center, where it remained for a year. For about 2 months, the college ordered its campus food provider to suspend its purchasing agreement with the bakery for the school's dining halls. What it said was an attempt to de-escalate the protests. Oberlin blamed the bakery for bringing the protest on itself, claiming that Gibson's Bakery's archaic chase and detain policy regarding suspected shoplifters was the catalyst for the protest. The guilt or innocence of the students is irrelevant to both the root cause of the protest and this litigation. So I think it's very interesting that they kept this resolution up for a year, which was after the students were pled guilty to shoplifting. These are some comments by some of the, according to Wikipedia, from administrators, college administrators. Retired Oberlin professor Roger Copeland was also critical of the protests, writing a year after the protests began, quote, "It's embarrassing when one has to ask Oberlin students the same question one asks climate change deniers. At what point do you accept the empirical evidence, even if that means having to embrace an inconvenient truth? The time has come for the Dean of Students, Meredith Raimondo, on behalf of the college, to apologize to the Gibson family." Raimondo reacted to Copeland's statement in a private text message. F him, quote, F him. I'd say unleash the students if I wasn't convinced this needs to be put behind us, end quote. Connor Friedersdorf, a writer for The Atlantic, I think it's also alumni of Oberlin College, argued that college administrators at Oberlin, quote, calculatingly wield some control over whether student activists are aggressive or restrained, end quote. An email from Vice President of Communications, Ben Jones, read, quote, all these idiots complaining about the college hurting a small local business are conveniently leaving out their massive, relative to the town, conglomerate and price gouging on rents and parking, and the predatory behavior toward most other local business. F them. That's mindset of the faculty at the school. The students also have this mindset of you are not even guilty until proven innocent. You can't prove you're innocent. You're just guilty. So there's no innocent until proven guilty. There's no benefit of the doubt. There's no treating others as you wish them to be treated. There's no waiting until maybe the thing is disposed of in the court system one way or the other. The Gibson shoplifting event occurs on November 9, 2016, and August 2017, the students, the shoplifters were pled guilty and said that there was no, race had nothing to do with it. You would think the college administration would at this point issue an apology to Gibson's and try to make things right with this business. Well, the Gibsons, they file a lawsuit against the college in November 2017. So they filed a complaint, libel and slander, in Lorain County, Ohio, Lorain County, Ohio. So once this lawsuit is filed, the college the administration of the college decide to fight this vigorously, defend this. And their defense, the legal defense is really, there's multiple defenses. I think the key one is to outspend the Gibsons. So apparently the attorneys foot the bill for this, not the Gibsons, the attorneys that picked up the case. So their defense was, well, you're saying that you were defamed, but that was the students. And we didn't say those things. The students said those things. And even if they did say those things, they weren't defamatory. But even if they were defamatory, your business is only worth $35,000. And so the jury obviously rejected this eventually, and the verdict was 1,000 times larger than what the college's attorneys said the business was worth in court. Aside from the right and wrong of this, the administrators have a fiduciary duty. And in this case, you would think the legal advice would be you have some risk here. This could go pretty bad and cost the college a lot of money. But they have insurance, and it's not their money. When it's not your money, you're the trustee, it's a lot easier to spend it. And your fiduciary duty, really, the way you should approach it is, well, if this were my money, what would I do? Well, these folks didn't care, apparently, about the amount of money. So you could have an overzealous attorney saying, well, yes, let's defend this thing vigorously. You really have a good case. That point in time, when the trial rolled around, it was a 6-week trial, and it was held in June of 2019. By the time this happened, there was a new college president of Oberlin College president, I should say. Her name is Carmen Twillie Ambar, and she is actually an attorney. So you would think she would understand the risk involved, but I don't think these folks cared. I don't think they cared about the money at all. The jury found for the plaintiffs, Gibson, an amount of $44 million. And this is the president of Oberlin College talking about the verdict on, I believe it's CBS News here.
Oberlin College in Ohio is disagreeing with a jury's decision that would have the school pay a nearby bakery $44 million in damages. Here's the backstory. In 2016, Oberlin students boycotted Gibson's Bakery after the store accused an underage black student of shoplifting wine. The student in question later did admit to stealing. Student protesters held signs accusing the bakery of racism. As a result, the bakery said it lost business and had to let workers go. The bakery sued the school in 2017 for defamation, and just this month, a jury decided the school should pay the bakery $44 million in damages. Joining me now is Oberlin College President Carmen Twillie Ambar. President Ambar, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
First off, we should say you were not president of Oberlin when the incident in question occurred, but you are now leading the school.
Yes.
And you disagree with the jury's decision. Tell us why.
Well, I think that this decision is really about whether the college should be held liable for the speech of students. And so the college didn't construct the flyer, the college didn't condone the flyer, it didn't write the Senate resolution. And the judge held at the time that the speech the students were making at the protest was protected speech. And the speech that was in the flyer and in the Senate was the same speech that the students were using at the protest. And so essentially it's saying that the college should be held liable for student speech, and we're saying that that's not the right decision.
Were there any professors or administrators participating in the protest, though? There have been reports that there were.
Right. So one of the things I think is interesting about this debate is when do people get a chance to exercise their own First Amendment rights, and when are they representing the institution? And so there was one administrator there who was representing the institution, and the student handbook requires her to be there, the dean of students. And so she was there to ensure that the protest was lawful and was safe, and was saying to students, you can't stand here, you can't stand there. And some people have perceived that as being a part of the protest, but that's the work that colleges do to try to de-escalate a protest and to ensure that students do it in a safe and lawful way.
So no professors or administrators were protesting, they were just there sort of watching?
Well, the dean of students was there. There may have been some professors who were there operating in their own individual capacity, but they weren't representing the institution, right? And so that's a real important distinction, because you get a chance to, in your work environment, still have your First Amendment rights, and you don't necessarily represent the institution.
There is a statement from the attorneys for the bakery that they just released to us, and it reads in part, the recent efforts of Oberlin College and President Ambar to reframe this as a First Amendment issue while undermining the jury's decision should be incredibly concerning to us all. Oberlin College was never on trial for the free speech of its students. Instead, the jury unanimously determined that Oberlin College libeled the Gibsons. Despite what spin the college places on the facts of this case, libelous statements have never enjoyed protections under the First Amendment. So what would be your reaction to that statement?
So my reaction to that is that Mr. Plackus is sort of misstating what the jury found. So the jury found that those statements in the flyer and in the Senate resolution were statements that they thought were libelous. And what we've been saying is that we didn't write those statements. We didn't produce those statements. And so the notion that the college should be held responsible for those statements is where this was sort of a misplaced blame, right? So this is not about, we can have a debate about whether those statements were defamatory or whether they were libel, but the question is who produced those statements.
Interviewer states there are reports that the professors or administrators were protesting. That's not exactly accurate. That was in court testimony. It wasn't just some sort of a gossip. In this interview, the college president, Ambar, reframed every question. She didn't really answer the questions. But in this case, she's trying to paint the picture that the college had no choice but to support the students in their right to express themselves. Instead of being adults, as I said, they had these college degrees, they're very learned, educated people. Instead of warning them that what they're saying could be defamatory. She's basically saying we have this duty to support them, which their duty probably is just to not suppress free speech. That doesn't mean you support, aid, and abet defamatory language. Whether the college produced these statements or not, they knew they were defamatory and they could have easily settled this matter for far less than $44 million. They could have also avoided the legal cost on their end. So it goes on. They appeal, and this case just keeps going. The appeal on October 19th in the appeals court was 3-0. 3-0. So they could have easily tried to settle. There's no report that they made any attempt to settle with Gibson's. Neither side contended that happened. To my knowledge, that everything that I've read. And by the way, if you really want to know more about this, Abraham Socher's in commentary.org, September 2019, is quite a long story on this. So the college administrators could try to settle this matter right away. They could have tried to settle it before the students, the shoplifters, were pled guilty. They could have settled this before the Gibson's Bakery filed their lawsuit. They could have settled before trial. They could have settled after trial, before the appeal. They didn't try to do any of that. This is from CBS Sunday Morning. Ted Koppel is the reporter here.
Used college funds to order pizza for the demonstrators. They used college fund for food and drinks and refreshments. They used college funds to buy gloves to make sure that the protesters' hands wouldn't get cold.
I raised some of those issues with Carmen Twillie Ambar, who was not then, but is now, president of Oberlin College. Maybe what was before the jury was that the college administration did nothing to ameliorate the demonstration, did nothing to calm the students down. If anything, they appeared to be supportive of the demonstration without, at that time, knowing the facts.
I don't think that's factually accurate. I think that
did they know the facts at the time?
The college didn't know the fact, but it's not true that the college supported the demonstration.
Well, let's take each of the sort of individual charges that were made against the college. The handing out, the purchasing and handing out of gloves.
The college didn't pass out gloves and didn't hand out gloves.
Well, the college didn't, but people representing the college did.
The college disputes those facts, that it handed out gloves.
Where did the gloves come from?
The college disputes handing out gloves.
Factually correct, but still misleading. A student bought the gloves, but only after sending this email requesting reimbursement to Meredith Raimondo, the Dean of Students. "Hi," read the email. "If I bought $75 to $100 more worth of gloves to bring to the protest, would it be possible to get reimbursed?" And the reply from Dean Raimondo, "Yes. Bring the receipt to 105 Monday. Thanks for helping folks stay warm."
The evidence showed there was a receipt that they paid for the pizza. There was a text, it was with the student council, "Can we get gloves?" And Meredith was like, "Yes." Whatever.
Meredith was the Dean of Students?
Yes.
Meredith Raimondo?
Yes.
Yeah. Misty Smith was one of the jurors. You were personally convinced and the other jurors were convinced that the college supported the students financially?
100%. 100%. They supported them.
The jury found unanimously that the college also helped students put out and distribute a defamatory flyer which described Gibson's Bakery as, quote, "a racist establishment with a long account of racial profiling and discrimination," end quote.
So in the face of this massive verdict, this college president is, she's basically insulting the intelligence of anybody who's followed this, especially the jurors' intelligence. Totally disrespects the jury and their ability to figure out whether the college supported the students. This president has said we supported the rights. By the student handbook, we had to support them. So here's the president of Oberlin College. Her name is Ambar, blaming the Gibsons for all of this.
Apology?
You know, I think the college has said that it was sorry that this happened, that they wish something else could have occurred here. But I also think it's important to remember that through this process, the college reached out to the Gibsons, tried to work with the Gibsons to do a joint statement, tried to work with the Gibsons to meet with the students, and the Gibsons decided that they didn't want to pursue that option. And so my understanding.
So the CBS Morning was in November 2019, and then the local Cleveland WKYC Channel 3 that was published, I understand, June 28th, 2019. The college filed an appeal to the Supreme Court of Ohio, and they voted 3-2 not to hear the case. Now, that doesn't mean 3-2 they agreed with Gibson's, and 2 justices agreed with Oberlin College. That's just simply they're not going to take the case up. They're not going to hear it. So this was nearly 6 years of putting this business through hell. The thing I like to note about it, there's no sense of benefit of the doubt. Treat others as you'd like to be treated. There's none of that. This college was very. They intended to hurt this business for daring to go after them. So what was their motivations? That there was a personal motivation by these administrators or trustees at the college that they didn't want students protesting on their lawn? Was that it? Was this a legal fight and the refusal to apologize to the Gibsons on the principle of the, I doubt that they cared about the students' rights to free speech. I think what they really motivated these folks is when you have this woke religion, you have to stick with it. We're preaching you have to stop hate, and those students, well, they were stopping hate by, according to this jury, and anybody that can that go through the testimony was found, they didn't really have a leg to stand on. This was sort of a foregone conclusion. But Once they got into it, they were going to just try to wear the Gibsons out till they quit. One thing's for sure, if you are, if you want to go to a college and you want the name of the college on your resume so that it will assist you getting a job, you should not go to this college. Private employers are not going to hire, they're not even going to interview a lot of people simply because the name of the college is on the resume. So that's my episode for today. I really appreciate you watching. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, share, comment. Thank you for watching.